Hello, welcome back. I'm Mike from Canavan Wealth. I wanted to do a series about uh, getting people to think a little differently about the economic world. The world is so sensationalized these days. Whatever videos you're watching, thumbnails always try and get you in and think that if you don't make some dramatic change, and the world is much more nuanced than that. However, there is a lot that is changing about the world that is important that we keep track of. It has to be this balance of what have we learned from the past and what can we expect from the future, right? So a question that I often get from a lot of clients is, well, the market can't just go up forever, right? It can't just always go up, can it? And that's a very nuanced answer with a lot of moving pieces, many of which I'm really not qualified to talk about because I haven't done the research myself. But there are parts of it that I want to talk about, specifically around the way we measure economic success, specifically for investments, which is growing valuation of a company or profitability of a company. And for in the near term, one of the reasons the market typically goes up is that world population continues to grow, meaning total market share of a various industry is growing, and thus it's logical to think that companies within that industry should generally get bigger. There's another aspect there which I think currently puts us in a Goldilocks zone, which is not only is world population getting bigger, but the percentage of that world population that we sell goods and services to, what the modern industrialized world, is also getting bigger. So you could say, well, we're at 8 billion now, and in 30 years we're going to be at 10 billion. You could also say, yes, but right now only 35% of the 8 million is actually consumers of our goods and services. And as they modernize, get on the internet, use smartphones, that percentage is going to go up. So not only is the big number getting bigger, but the percentage of it that we're actually selling to is getting bigger. And that's why I consider it kind of a Goldilocks zone that we're in right now. And if you were naive like me until recently, you might have thought that world population will always continue to grow. We may get to 100%, but world population will continue to grow. It turns out that that is not the case. And a recent study by the UN, although this has been well known for many years, it just wasn't well known by me, is saying that world population will top out somewhere around 11 billion. So we're at 8 now, somewhere around 11 billion by the end of this century. So by 2100. Sounds like a crazy long time from now. But when you talk about generational wealth, we're talking about the grandkids here, right? And so we're right here in 2020, where population is still trending up. Why don't we think that this is just going to go straight up? Well, that's because we can also measure growth rate. This is how much the population is growing by percentage, and it has been steadily dropping since the 50s. Why is this? This has to do with fertility rates. Fertility rate is just how many kids your average female has. If it's 2, then the growth rate would be 0, right? If every female on Earth had 2 kids, then we would live in a world where population was steady. But as we have learned that as countries and communities modernize and get better access to healthcare, family size shrinks, fertility rate comes down. It has nothing to do with fertility treatments or anything along those lines. We're just talking about how many kids your average person, family, whatever it is going to have. And that's been coming down. It's famously low in some areas, right? China's one-child policy has had very detrimental effects on their population growth. Obviously, when you mandate that people can only have 1 kid, it then becomes cultural, and they're having very serious issues in China over their population. You think, oh, it's this massive country, but when a country's population starts shrinking, there's very serious problems with that. So as places like sub-Saharan Africa, some parts of South America, India continue to modernize, get better access to healthcare, fertility rates we know will come down, and we will eventually get to a world where world population is most likely shrinking. And when that happens, those 2 things that I talked to you about, total market share going up and the percentage by which we sell to, we'll probably have already hit 100% by that time, and world population will start going down. And that's going to be a very different time when it comes to investing and how we measure economic success than it is right now, because we largely rely on this increasing market share right now in order for our investments to work. We're in the, especially when you talk about index-based investing, right, which is a topic, probably the next one of these, but that's going to be different. Is it going to be a world where you cannot invest? No, we will have probably have different ways, and the world will just be a lot different for many, many different reasons than what we are now. However, traditional thinking, right, they're going to look back, and the lessons that we're learning now may not be that valuable to them because they live in an entirely different type of economic world. So when you think about the future and how investments and why has the stock market done so well in recent years, there's certain reasons for that, but we also need to understand about what's coming on in the future, and it has to be a balance of what we've learned from the past and what we're going to think about in the future. Just something to think a little differently about. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for your time, and I will talk to you soon.